Check, 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 check. Testing, check. Check, 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 check. Okay. We are live. We're back. What's going on, everybody? Hope that you all are doing well today. The very next day after yesterday's stream, um, where we just talked about Balin's Skull, which was fun. And I just got whatever was going on in my brain about his character out officially finally. But today we are discussing and talking about Chaos Rising Memories 1. Where we just talked about. Okay. Let me see something. Just checking something, testing something real quick. As far as the music. Just checking something, testing something real quick. As far as the. Okay. So it does work. Let's see how that goes. Let me. Something real quick. Because I was supposed to do this a few minutes ago. Got caught up in doing something else. Okay, so after the stream today, I'm gonna look to work on Ahsoka Thrawn video that's gonna get pushed out tomorrow. Hopefully tomorrow that'll be the case, but I'm gonna look to do that video as soon as I am done. Well, after I eat dinner, but after I eat dinner, then I'm gonna do that video. But that's for tomorrow. But today, Ascendancy, Chaos Rising, Book 1, diving into it. Let's get going. Prologue was, the opening was the attack on Chila. Everybody, including Bakif, trying to figure out who, what, when, where, but more so the focus was the why. And Bakif he kind of figured Thrawn would be the person that he would go to, and I love the fact that they tie into their their relationship between Balkeith and Thrawn from the prologue, walking us into Memories One, which is going to be key to everything else that's going to be happening in Book One, for the prequel trilogy to the OT, the original trilogy of Heir to the Empire books. So, with that, guys, we're just going to dive into it. As always, I'm not a good reader. I stutter sometimes. Some words sound weird coming from me. Don't judge me. I'm just saying. But we're going to dive into it. And I'm nervous as heck as always because, yeah, I don't necessarily like talking a lot of times, to be honest. But we're going to read from Memories 1. If you have the book and you are watching this stream later, feel free to follow along. If you're on your device, whichever, probably even use the audiobook because, Mr. Mark Thompson. Mr. Mark Thompson sounds way better than me. Way better. But let's get it. Let's dive into it. There's one thing that I want to point out that I'm going to touch on. Probably a couple things, I think, to be honest. But let's dive into Memories 1. Here we go. Of all the duties foisted on mid-ranking family members, aristocrat Mitherfi Yaniko thought sourly as he strode down the senior school hallway. Recruitment was one of the worst. It was boring, involved way too much travel, and more often than not was a waste of time. Here on Rentor, physically close to Chile yet paradoxically in the backwater of the Chiss Ascendancy, he had no doubt what the outcome of the trip would be. Now, originally when I read this, I was like, Rentor? Where's Rentor? Where's Rentor? Where's that located? You know what I mean? But I have it here. The Wikipedia. Well, it was Wikipedia, but it switched to somewhere else. But either way, it's the same information. Let me pull it up. Here we go. So this is what it says on Rentor. It's canon. It basically states this here. Rentor was a terrestrial planet in the unknown regions located within the backwater areas of the Chiss Ascendancy nation. The planet was neither a political nor cultural hub of the Chiss species, despite its proximity to the Ascendancy capital, planet Chila. Rentor was home to a branch of the Ascendancy's Kivu family, including Kivu Nuru, core name Varon, and his sister Kivu Kardak, core name Varika. So this is basically where Thrawn's family is from, him and his sister. I like that they implement that at the very beginning of the book to let us know, this is where him and his family originally resided from. So just glad that they touched on that. As of currently, I don't remember if I would say that they do bring this up more later on, but I don't think, if I remember correctly, I don't think that they touch on his home more so than him and some key folks that we're going to dive into. So yeah, let's keep going. Oh, I need a new phone. my phone charger is, should I say the plug-in, at least to plug my chargers into. I bought a new charger, but the charger doesn't work. Just like the phone only likes my old charger and cord. But anyway, I gotta get a new phone at some point. But let's see. Moving on to continue to read. Still, when a general, even a newly minted one. Now, when they mention this, it means that Bakiv specifically is brand new to being a general. He more than likely became a general within, I guess, whatever year. Whatever the year that it was. Probably more than likely a couple of months to a few months into the position. I want to say a couple of months, because that's what it states. Like he's even a newly minted one. Said he had a promising recruit. It was incumbent on the family to at least check it out. General Bakif was waiting in the assembly overlooked balcony when the aristocrat arrived. The expression on the general's face was one of controlled eagerness. The face itself was far too young to be attached to a field-grade officer. But then, that was what family connections were. Bakif's eyes lit up as he spotted his visitor. Aristocrat, Mitherfi and Nico, he asked. I am he. General Bakif, I am he. And with that formality over, they could move on to the far less awkward use of titles and core names. Thurfian then asks a question and says, so where is this student you thought was worth my flying halfway across the planet for? Thurfian asked. Down there, Bakif said, pointing at the lines of students reciting the morning vows. Third row back on the right. So he was a line leader. Impressive, but only mildly so. Name, Kivu Ranuru. Kivu, not a family Thurfian was familiar with. And, he prompted as he pulled out his Questus and keyed the family name. And his grades, aptitude, and logic matrix are off the boards, Bakif said. Makes him a prime candidate for the Taharim Academy on Naparor. Thurfian said, peering at the record. Kivu was about as obscure as a family as the Ascendancy had ever spawned. No wonder he'd never heard of them. And you contacted us. Why? Because the myth still have 2 appointed slots left for this year, Bakif said. And if you don't bring Veron in, he won't have another chance until next year. I want to pause just because I want to dive into, as well, since we're here, I want to look into Naparor real quick. Let's see if I can pull up. Let me get rid of. Oh, never mind. NAP. There we go. Should pop up. There we are. I'm gonna remove myself from the camera real quick. And this is what it says about Naparor. Naparor was a planet in the Chiss Ascendancy and was also the headquarters of the Chiss Expansionary Defense Fleet. Naparor contained a med center where Thrawn Nirodo underwent physical therapy after the vagary powered operation. I can't pronounce the name. At the second received. I won't dive into that. That's more so. I don't want to dive into all of that. But yeah, that's Naparor. Just wanted to touch on that. Like it says, it was just the headquarters for the Chiss Ascendancy Expansionary Defense Fleet, and it contained a med center. I think I gave a little bit too much, but yeah. Okay. Would that be? It goes on to say, would that be such a catastrophe? Because Keith was saying, like, he wouldn't get a chance to basically apply to become a part of the Myth family until the following year. But Keith's face hardened. Yes, I believe it would, he said, offering his own questions. Here's his school record. Thurfian pursed his lips as he scrolled down the screen. He'd seen better, but not very often. I don't see any indication that his family had prepped him for military service. No, they haven't, Bakif confirmed. It's a smaller family without the resources or access to the myth that or access the myth have for such things. And that, again, that tells you that, Rentor, where they're located, again, small family, possibly, low class, not even mid class, type of thing. But Thrawn, even that young, was doing better than a lot of his classmates. So that kind of lets you know that he came from a not so well known family. He wasn't born into it or anything like that. He's on the outside, basically being approached to do what? Join the Myth family, which is a high class family, prestige and everything, right? So then it goes on to say, if they thought he was so exceptional, they should have found or made the resources, Thurfian said tartly. So you think the myth should step to the front and just welcome him in with no questions asked? Ask all the questions you like, Bakif said. I've arranged for him to be pulled out of first class for an interview. Thurfian smiled tightly. Are the aristocrat that predictable? The aristocrat? No, Bakif matched Thurfian's smile, but their rivalries are. I imagine so, Thurfian conceded, lowering his eyes again to Varon's records. If the boy lived up to even half of his potential, he would be a worthy addition to the Myth family. Once, thousands of years ago, and this is going to dive into more of the history of the Chiss and how they functioned in the past, to also talking about the current stasis, which is very, very interesting. Because as we know, as time goes on, life goes on, and life, the world, cities, the planet, everything, stuff just evolves. It evolves into a higher place. But at the same time, there are still, people who may clutch onto old ways, people who don't have the access to fully access to, the plethora of resources, because even as they're talking about, these resources, there's still limitations, there's still roadblocks, and there's still people out there who won't be able to fully gain the access to the resources that are supposedly available for any and everybody that comes to the table to request those resources. But that's just something that, again, still will even occur in Star Wars, and it sucks because it's just like we escape to stuff like this to get away from reality. But as we see, even from a humanistic standpoint, the writers, the creators, they still implement some reality stuff into these fictional worlds, to be able to allow the readers to relate still to some stuff, which I'm going to be doing a video about something like this at some point within the next couple of months. But it's more so about Andor, to be honest. But with that, let's continue. Oh, give me 1 second. One second. Okay. Okay. So It says once thousands of years ago, families have been just that. Groups of people bound by blood and marriage and close to everyone else. And when it talks about this, basically means that everybody was specifically in a spot, in a place, and at that time, they didn't do what they're getting, what they're currently doing now. You were born into a family. That's where you lived, breathed, ate, slept, stayed, and basically passed away within that family. And then, there are a lot of cultures out there still like that, where they stick and stay within the realm of the system, the process, and everything of how they function. And at that time, the Chiss ascendancy, the Chiss family, the Chiss people, they did the exact same thing. They held on to these cultures, which is, again, they were, to me, the Chiss were basically a world of introverts, where did not um, they didn't go outside of the realm of Chila, or the worlds are wrapped around Chila wherever they were. They just stayed in that bubble there. They didn't interact with anybody outside of that bubble. That's what they did. That's how they lived. And they became, again, per the name, myth. They became a myth where people heard about them, but the people that they would run into specific people and species and stuff like that, and those stories would get out. But you didn't really necessarily see them like anywhere outside of the unknown region. They stuck and stayed right there. So they were basically like Star Wars version of an introvert. And I basically connect in that way, because it's like I stay in one spot. I go to work and go home. I don't really mingle with anybody all like that. But yeah. So yeah, at that time they did that. But here's a but. But the inherent limitations of such a system had led to decline and stratification, and some of the patriarchs had begun experimenting with methods of absorbing outsiders that didn't involve marriage. And that's where we walk into them going to the Kivu family, who was outside of the usual norm of these families, and are going to grab somebody who technically has a very, very astute and very powerful mind, and they're going to look to bring him into the family. It goes on to say, the result had been the current system, where likely prospects could be brought in as merit adoptives. Let me dive into that, because I just love the system that is in place. So this is what merit adoptive means. It means a merit adoptive was a Chiss from a lesser family that became part of a ruling or great family by adoption. Based on their own skills and merits, the adoption process was called rematching. The process to evaluate a candidate typically took 2 to 3 months, and that's where we're going to leave it at that, because we're actually going to talk about more of what this specific thing says, where it's talking about, it takes, the process usually takes 2 to 3 months. But yeah, it's about to get interesting in a minute. So the merit adoptive, you see, the result had been the current system, where likely prospects could be brought in as merit adoptives, with those who prove themselves especially worthy rising to trial-born, and possibly even ranking distant. Trial-born, now we're going to dive into, I know I'm just like diving more into each stance. I'm trying to just give you a glimpse of, at least a little bit of a glimpse of how, if you haven't read the books, if you don't know this information, what this means, I'm giving you just the gist of what this is talking about. So trial-born, it means was a rank within Chiss families of the Chiss Ascendancy, situated between ranking distant and merit adoptive. Although Chiss could be granted the rank of trial-born based on merits alone, most reached the position by completing a series of tests known as the trials, and the Myth family conducted its trials in their homestead on Chila. It also says the rank of childborn was considered much more secure within the Chiss family than the lower uh, probationary rank of merit adoptive. On rare occasions, a family may offer a highly desired individual to join their family at or above the rank or trial born without even having to conduct the trials. And that's that information. And then they did bring up the. Actually, it's right there. Where is it? They did bring up the ranking distant, right? So, ranking distant, this is what it means. Ranking distant was a family rank of the Chiss Ascendancy. In the Chiss hierarchy, it was situated above Trialborn and below the rank of cousin. Once a Trialborn attached the rank of ranking distant, their bloodline would be thereafter be incorporated into the families, guaranteeing that their descendants have a place within their family. And that's just like, you know what I'm saying? That just lets you know, like, that's how the Chiss functioned and flowed. You know, it tells you that very few get to that specific ranking distant, you know, stuff like that. Um, and, you know, they have, you know, again, they have other ranking stuff that are lower than that. And again, it's more so what I'm going to dive into in a second, what I'm talking about here. Bring something up specifically because it's just something that, you know, we know that occurs in, you know, the political realm and just even outside of political realm, you know, type of thing. Yeah, that can still benefit people even who are just like basically looking for a job, basically. Um, so yeah, give me one moment. Okay. Let me see. So then it goes on to say Ron certainly fit the criteria of becoming a merit. Excuse me, becoming a merit adoptive. Excuse me. More important, if the myth took him the Arizi, another family within the ruling families, wouldn't be able to snatch him up. One of the many family rivalries, again, like I said, is the Arizi. Bakif was no doubt thinking of when he spoke of predictability. But even that was besides the point. And that kind of lets you know, like, even with the Chiss, there's still rivalries, there's still beefs and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, you know, the Chiss still, you know, believe in, uh, you know, sticking together even in the midst of beefs and stuff like that. They're just like, well, you know, I'm just gonna put my beef aside with you for today or for this month because we're in battle against these planets or whoever's trying to attack or whatever. We're gonna put our beef aside for now, but then once we're done, we're still not friends. We're never gonna be friends. Blah blah blah. You know what I mean? But we're gonna talk to each other in a professional way, but we still got beefs, type of stuff. Um, let's see. Ron certainly fit the criteria of becoming a married dolphin. More importantly, other predictability. But even that was besides the point. The Syndicure had finally agreed to the Defense Force's long-standing pleas to expand its capabilities and mandate, and the newly formed expansionary defense fleet was the result. Its mission was to watch over Chiss interests in the parts of the chaos uh, extending beyond the Ascendancy's borders, to learn who was out there and assess their level of threat. You know, chaos is, you know, the unknown regions, basically. That's what they call it. And they just started the expansionary defense fleet around this time during Memories One. So we're going to be diving more into the EDF for sure as we continue to read more of the book. And for once, the aristocrat had finally been generous with their family with their military funding. The expansionary fleet's new ships, bases, and support facilities were already under construction, and they were going to need all the competent officers and warriors they could get. Again, it's like I said, the EDF, the expansionary defense fleet, is very, very new. It's very, very fresh. It's just being born basically as they're creating all the all this stuff is being under construction, and they need to find. And it's just crazy that they built this now, right? And Thrawn is being looked at as a candidate to become a merit adopted, which is really, really cool, right? This Thrawn looked like someone who would fit into such a role, a man who might make a name there, both for himself and for his family. Fine, he said. Let's go talk to him, see how he stands up to a proper interrogation. And then we have the actual meet. This is Varan talking. I trust the compound isn't too far away, Varan said as Thurfian's car flew swiftly across the Rentor landscape. I'm already missing all of today's classes. My instructors would be displeased if I missed tomorrow's as well. You'll be all right, Thurfian said, hearing the strained patience in his voice. Did the boy really not understand the depth of the honor that had been bestowed upon him? Apparently not. Attending his classes was more important. Adoption into one of the non-ruling families wasn't. And that kind of tells you that, Thrawn is being told that this is what's happening, but he's, he more so is, I want to say, somebody of routine. He's just like, look, I don't want to, I understand that, you're calling me to go do this, but I still have my, I still have my schooling. I still have my, this is somebody that, is just like, look, why didn't y'all, I can hear him, if it was me talking to him, like, why don't y'all come to me, like, say on my day off to have this conversation? This is kind of important, I don't want to miss these classes. You're going to put me behind, and maybe, I'll be playing catch up. Like, I want to just continue doing what I'm doing. So, because I personally, I don't like having something switched around when I know I'm supposed to be in a specific place or something like that. And I feel like a lot of people, there are many people out there who are the same. They're just like, they have a plan to go do something, to get it done and then go about the business. They don't like, stuff to interrupt, what they're doing at the time. But anyway, let's see. Rentor wasn't exactly a political or cultural hub, and Thurfian knew he had to make allowances for a certain degree of ignorance. Even so, such a lack of awareness set Varan apart from even the unsophisticated commoners around him. Still, if Bakif's assessment was correct, the boy would be heading for a military career. Politics weren't nearly so important there. And that, again, this is letting you know where Thrawn is going to be standing moving forward, per his character. If Varan was rematched to the myth, which was hardly yet guaranteed, Thurfian had sent in his own report, but there was still an interview to be conducted by the counselors who oversaw myth interests on Rentor, followed possibly by a short meeting with the local patriarch herself if the counselors were suitably impressed. Once all that was over, the results would be forwarded to the homestead on Chila for final review, and only then would Ron learn whether or not he'd been selected to the myth merit adopted. The whole process typically took 2-3 months. Thurfian had seen it take as many as 6. His quest is signaled. Pulling it out of his pocket, he keyed it, and this is where it gets really interesting. Again, all this stuff of what we're talking about, this stuff is just being applied as of within a few hours, I would say, right? A couple of hours or whatever. This is what the quest says. It was a script message, a very brief script message. And it says, Varan accepted as merit adoptive. Ha! Interesting. Wow. Just like that, within a couple hours, Thrawn is accepted. Usually, he has to go through the process. Takes 2 to 3 months, blah, blah, blah. Sometimes 6 months. This, that, and the third. There is a process, right? But Thrawn gets automatic. He skips the line to the very front. Yeah. Something interesting about that, right? Impossible, impossible. Sorry, saying something from Final Fantasy X. But yeah, um, um, impossible. The interviews, the patrol evaluation, the homestead review. But there it was, staring at him in the face. The process had been short circuited by someone, and none of the usual procedures were going to matter. And that's key. Doesn't matter anything that we just talked about gets thrown out the window. Like I said, Thrawn skips the line. Now again, he you know he doesn't specifically. Somebody specifically in a position of power, political pool basically, causes him to skip the line. This is what I'm talking about. Where I was going to mention that it's not what you know, it's who you know. Now, granted, in life we know that there are a lot of people in the political scene and other avenues, even in specific jobs where it's somebody that that can cause you to jib not fully the line, most of the or, the whole line, but probably half of it sometimes, or even most of it, to get you to a point where you get to actually get in front of somebody to be interviewed, more than likely get a job, type of thing, get a political position, stuff like that, where there technically usually is a process that takes much longer. But at the end of the day, many people do need work, and to have to sit and wait a month, 3 months, 4 months, what I'm saying, even well, but just more so say longer than a month, sucks. But for Thrawn here, he fully jips his line, fully jips everything, the process, everything, it's out the window. He's accepted. Um, in fact, none of them were now even necessary. I like that part. None of them were now even necessary. Presumably, the patrol had received the same message, and the only thing that would happen when they reached the compound would be the brief ceremony detaching Thrawn from the Kivu family and rematching him to the myth. So automatically, once they get to where they're going to go right into the rematching ceremony right there in that moment. Is there trouble? Varan asked. No, nothing, Thurfian said, putting the questers back in his pocket. So on the strength of Thurfian's own interrogation, plus perhaps the boy's school records and evaluations, he was accepted? That made no sense. Impressive though the boy might be, there still had to be more to it. Clearly, someone high up in the family had been keeping watch on Thurfian's mission today. That same someone had apparently also been following Varan's life, had already decided that taking him was in the myth's best interest. And like I said, it's not what you know, it's who you know. Now again, Thrawn doesn't know anything, doesn't know anybody, didn't have a conversation. They just, like he says, more likely somebody was eyeing Thrawn over the course of maybe a couple of years to a few years. They seen stuff about him and said, this kid has something. We're bringing him to our family. Get so and so on the line, Bakif, Thurfian, blah blah blah. Get him on the line. We want them to go, blah blah blah. And we're gonna automatically skip the line, accept it, and send it out after they see them to get ready to bring them over, because we're setting it up. By the time Thurfian left to go scoop up to pick up Thrawn, they were getting ready to prepare for the ceremony, setting all that up back where it's supposed to happen, so that once they got the call that Thurfian seen him, they're getting ready to pack, put him in the Thurfian ship to send him. That's when they were just like, all right, now we send the message out. So a lot of stuff just let you know that this is how the Chiss roll, and more than likely just tells you that this is not the first time that this has happened. This can definitely tell you right here that this happened more than once. Now, if this happens for the first time and it's Thrawn, that's even more interesting. You see how excited I'm getting, right? So like amped and hyped I'm getting, right? But let's continue. So if the decision had already been made, why had Thurfian been sent to do an interview in the first place? Surely his recommendation didn't hold that much weight with the homestead. Of course it didn't. Thurfian had been sent here to help cover the fact that Thrawn had already been selected for rematching. Pure politics. Because with the 9 families, it was always about politics. And that's, one of the things, like, what I'm saying? Like, a lot of politics happening in the background. Same thing in, New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, a lot of the books, there's a lot of political stuff still happening in the background. We, of course, plus that ties into Shiv Palpatine. He was a political character in the world of Star Wars. Not just being a Sith, a Force user, he was still a powerful political person. Politics was still placed in this universe. It's still a forefront. Besides the Sith, besides the Jedi, there's still political stuff happening. And there are a lot of books out there that is more political than, say, Jedi and Sith. Even if the Jedi and Sith are featured in the book, there's a lot of political stuff happening in these books, way more. Okay. He frowned, his thoughts belatedly catching up with him. He hadn't reacted in any way when he received the message. He'd been an aristocrat and political creature long enough to know how to keep emotions like surprise out of his face and voice. Yet somehow Thrawn had recognized that the message had been disturbing enough to inquire about it. He eyed the boy again. That kind of observational skill, wasn't common. Maybe there was more there than he'd realized. Some spark that would someday bring honor and glory to himself and his family. Apparently, someone at the homestead thought so too. Let's dive into the homestead real quick. Homestead. Okay, coming off a camera here. Homestead. A homestead was a type of structure and estate that was home to a Chiss family, married adoptives seeking to become trial-born members of a family performed. Seeking to become trial-born members of a family performed the trials on a family homestead. Example of a homestead includes the Reezy family homestead and the Myth family homestead, both located deep underground below the surface of Saplar, the capital of Chile. That's homestead. There was still the question of whether or not the boy would be sent to the Taharium Academy, but with Varon's unidentified benefactor pulling the strings, Thurfian expected that would also be a foregone conclusion. He scowled at the landscape racing past beneath him. He didn't like being manipulated. Nobody likes being manipulated, right? Nobody, right? He very much didn't like proper and time-honored procedures being thrown out the window on someone's whim. Because this is letting us know that Thurfian, in the midst of him, not like doing certain things, he understands and accepts, and possibly even sometimes even looks forward to the general process of things going to the flow of how they're supposed to go. This is letting us know he doesn't like the fact that people are jumping the line, skipping stuff. But he was an aristocrat of the myth, and it wasn't his job to approve or disapprove of his family's decisions. His job was merely to do the task he was given. Perhaps someday that would change. No trouble. I just received word that you've been accepted. Thrawn turned wide eyes on him. Already? Yes, Thurfian confirmed, secretly enjoying the other's confusion, so he could be surprised. And at least he knew enough politics to recognize the unusual nature of the situation. We'll presumably go through the ceremony when we reach the compound. As a married adoptive, I assume. So the kid also knew something about the ruling families. That's where everyone starts, Thrawn told him. And if and when you go through the trials, you'll move up to trialborn. And then ranking distant, Thrawn said thoughtfully. Thrawn huffed out a silent breath. That, at least, would never happen. Not to someone from such an insignificant family. Perhaps. That's technically the first perhaps that we get from the book, but it's not the first perhaps that Thrawn says. Because he is very well known for saying that word. For now, it says perhaps. For now, just start getting used to the name Mithra Nuru. Yes, the boy murmured. Thrawn studied him out of the corner of his eye. The boy might bring glory to the myth, the way Bakif thought. He might just as easily bring shame and regret. That was how the universe operated. But either way, it was done. Thrawn was no more. In his place now stood Thrawn. And that is the end of Memories 1. We're going to walk into Chapter 1, which will happen. We'll do a reading maybe tomorrow, we'll see. Or Sunday, we'll see. Or Tuesday or something. We'll see. Within the next few days. If not for sure, definitely Wednesday because I'm off. But that's Memories 1. So many more memories to come. Just let me know your thoughts in the comments below. What y'all think? I personally just enjoyed just the little, the breakdown of the process, the families, the not really, how they function, operate in the past, how they're currently doing it now, all of the stuff. And like I said, it's not what you know, it's who you know type of thing in these specific spots. And we do have, somebody like Thrawn who's just like, whoa, wait, like I was manipulated into, bringing somebody, going to go pick somebody up, but not seeing them go through the process. So, with that, this lets you know that things are going to get really interesting as the book moves forward. And I'm really excited. I get really excited about stuff like this because it's just like, man, like Thrawn is my favorite non-Force user out of the entire Star Wars universe. He's definitely going to be a mainstay topic here on the channel. And as you see, we're talking and discussing about, the first prequel book. We will be diving into all the three of them. We're going to be diving into all the Thrawn books. Every last one of them. Yeah. Can't wait. But again, like I said, this just lets you know this is something interesting. Somebody specifically in the Myth family, in the Naru ruling families, decided to just have Thrawn skip the line and go straight to being accepted. Now he's getting ready to prepare to become a merit adoptive per this ceremony. Will this backfire? That's the question. For those of you who haven't read the book, that's the question. Can't wait. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'm about to be out because I'm going to work on this Thrawn video for tomorrow. Because I want to get my thoughts on this out. It's pertaining to the Ahsoka series and Thrawn. And then I will definitely be looking to do another Andor video for Monday or Tuesday, whichever comes first. Because like I said, I keep saying Andor is a mainstay here on the channel. So much stuff to talk about as far as season 1. There's a few things to talk about as far as season 2. As we're waiting, I'm patiently waiting for you all to actually see the trailer. I have the teaser trailer. And I'm curious if they would give us the teaser trailer before they actually give us a trailer for season 2. That can still happen this year because we know that, these studios and stuff, they push out trailers, you know what I'm saying? And a lot of times the trailers are even just a teaser trailer and then they give us the release date, which is the, several months down the line. And people at Celebration, of this year got a chance to see a lot of trailers, and Andor season 2 was one of them. I also have the Acolyte teaser trailer on my laptop too. But you know, this is one of them, and I feel like they can still at least push that day. I felt like, to be honest, I felt like they should have still given everybody. You should have given you all this teaser trailer. I wasn't at Celebration, but I was able to get the teaser trailer, grab it, have it, watch it over and over again. It's a really nice, well put together teaser trailer. That's literally like 50 seconds long, 40 seconds long, but it's just still dope. So I've done a couple of videos on the teaser trailer so far, but I'm not showing it actually. I'm just talking about it, to be honest. But you know, with that, I'm out. Let me know your thoughts on Memories 1. What did y'all think of it? What did y'all think of what's going on? If you haven't read the book and you're just like following these streams, just, you know, share your thoughts. And if this encourages you to grab the book and or books, the whole trilogy for the prequel trilogy and even the OT, if you haven't read those, highly recommend all the books, all of the Thrawn books, every last one of them, every last one, even the comic books too. Grab those too if you feel up to it. Support, get the money to the appropriate people, to the authors. Get it to the authors. Get it to their team. That money should go to them. You know what I'm saying? They poured in all them hours, all them years, and all that to get these type of books out to us. They are the ones that deserve full credit, as much money as they possibly can, to continue to pour out more of these stories. And I'm hopeful that Mr. Zahn, because he has so many other ideas for the Ascendancy, I'm hopeful that he gets the chance to do another trilogy this decade. That's my hope. So, but I'm out, guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. What y'all think of Memories 1. Let's talk about some things. Stay safe, stay humble, and remember, as always, the Force will be with you always. Peace, guys.